ExperiMental has come to Claremont Graduate University, possibly the most trusting campus in the USA.
Go ahead, take it. I trust you.
And why are perfectly rational students prepared to laden strangers' hands with greenbacks? Well, perhaps it's to do with this man, Dr. Paul Zak, and his little sprayer of clear liquid.
This vial contains oxytocin. You might call it trust in a bottle. Trust me.
If Dr. Zak is right, a good dose of oxytocin is likely to make you far more trusting, even of total strangers. It's a neurochemical, one of hundreds made in your brain which influence your mood. Oxytocin is released when we feel good, like when we're with someone we like a lot and end up, well, we can't show you that bit, but you get the drift.
It's because oxytocin is active in areas in the brain that are associated with social behaviors, and it decreases the anxiety we have of interacting with strangers.
And to prove that we can trust him, Dr. Zak put on a little demonstration of the powers of his bottled trust.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He took a number of strangers and squirted either oxytocin or plain old salt water up their nose.
5, 3.
Once the dribblings had been dealt with, it was time to start the experiment.
The substance you just inhaled is either oxytocin, which is a natural hormone that your body makes, or salty water. You do not know which one of these substances you've been given today. What we want to do is to look at how oxytocin affects the way you make decisions, in particular decisions involving other people and money. What we're going to have you do in just a minute is to log on to the computer and you'll be matched with someone else in the room, and you will make decisions by computer with real money that we're going to pay to you today. So here we go. We're going to start making decisions, and we should see several subjects pop up who are on oxytocin, who are showing lots of trust, and other subjects who are going to be less trusting.
The game works like this. Everyone has been given $10. The computer then gives them the option of giving some of that money away to one of the other participants. And this is where the trust comes in. No one knows who they're giving their money to. All they know is that if they give, say, $8 to person X, that $8 is going to be tripled, and person X will get 24. All the giver can do is trust that the person they've given to will split the profits with them, so they will both end up richer. But there's nothing to stop the receiver taking all the money and returning nothing.
Experimental economists think that the transfer from the first mover to the second mover is a sign of trust. The only reason you would actually take money out of the account, your account that you've earned, and give it to another person is because you're saying to them, hey, the pie just got 3 times bigger, and I trust, I believe, I hope that you're going to understand what you're supposed to do with this. You're supposed to share it with me, but you don't have to, and you can't communicate with them. So what we find is about 80% of first movers, in fact, send some amount of money to the second person, and of people who receive a monetary transfer denoting trust, an intentional transfer, about 90% return money back to the first person.
Give people a squirt of oxytocin, and they're far more likely to trust total strangers with their money.
So what we find is that when we give subjects oxytocin intranasally, that it increases their average level of trust by 17%. And more importantly, it more than doubles the number of people who give all their money to another person in the trust game. They keep 0 for themselves and give all their money to a stranger.
The oxytocin receptors are buried deep within the oldest parts of the brain, the parts that developed long before any of the true thinking parts, which is why our sense of trust is often subconscious. But it doesn't seem to work on everyone. Monitoring the volunteers, Dr. Zak can see that there is someone who, even though they've had a good whack of oxytocin, is far from trusting.
For now, we just know that most people, when you help them out, their brain releases oxytocin and they reciprocate. Other people, like the person here, is a bastard, right? So we have one person here who's kind of playing like a bastard. They send a lot of money. Generally, their brains release a high amount of oxytocin, but they're keeping all the money. And this is a person that you don't want to have coffee with or beer. You do something nice for them, and they kind of take advantage of you. So that's not very nice. So we see about 2% of people kind of hardwired for this, and we're now investigating why they might be doing that. What's happening in their brains that lead them not to want to reciprocate, where 98% of people, in fact, behave according to what your brain's telling you. Hey, someone helped you, help them out. Be nice, reciprocate.
But what about the rest of us? Oxytocin might have been shown to have no effect on 1 or 2 people, but what about the other 98%? A gang's going to be running around in the streets, squirting us with oxytocin and asking for our money?
I think it's difficult for that to happen for 2 reasons. One is that we have to put a large amount up your nose to actually get an effect, about 2 teaspoons full, so you'd know you're getting it. And second, the effect is very mild. So we do find people who are given oxytocin who are not trusting at all. They keep all the money. So there are interactive effects in the areas of the brain in which oxytocin is active that modulate its effects. So it's more effective in some people, less effective in others. If I really want to manipulate you, I could use other psychoactive medications that are much more dramatic.
What is good about these experiments is Dr. Zach has shown not just which chemical affects trusting behaviour in others, but also that most of the time, most of us are trusting anyway. Untrusting types are few and far between.